Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another weekend virtual cafe. It's great to see some sunny faces this morning as we are in beautiful September weather. Welcome to everyone. If you're joining us for the first time, or if this is, your more than 60th time in the last couple of years in these virtual workshops and cafes, it's great always to see familiar faces and some new ones as well. So welcome. You can definitely show your face if you like, but we will not judge you if you don't. We realize that many of you are multitasking or for connection purposes aren't able to do that. But we hope that you will engage with us even in the chat or audio if you can. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie Ramsey and I'm the project manager for the We Can project, which stands for Women Entrepreneurs Can. We are based in the Kingston region, led by Queen's University and funded by FedDev Ontario through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund. So welcome everyone. Here comes another. I'm just going to continue to let folks in. Why don't you take a moment as we get started? Of course, our virtual cafes are a bit different than workshops in that, as you can see, there's no PowerPoint screen. We are going to be discussing a topic together today, which is market research, actually. And so why don't you take a moment in the chat to go ahead and introduce yourselves to each other. Maybe let us know where you're connecting from in the world geographically. If you have a business, you can put a link to it. If you're going to be starting a business, feel free to let us know that as well. It's just a great opportunity to get to know folks. And inevitably in these sessions, I see things happening in the Zoom chat where people exchange emails or they find out a bit more about each other. So by all means, this is your session. Please do go ahead and do that. And while you are taking a moment in the Zoom chat to connect, I will acknowledge that I'm connecting to this workshop, actually this cafe, from the Bay of Quinte region. And this is the traditional and ancestral territory of the Huron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And as most of you know, tomorrow is a very important day here in Canada. It is National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. And if you don't already have your orange shirt to wear, I hope that you will find one, especially if you're going to be out in the community or on a Zoom call, but frankly, even if you're home by yourself, so that you can remember what is so important about this day. And I just did grab a little clip here to share with you that, of course, National Truth and Reconciliation Day, formerly known as Orange Shirt Day, actually began back in 2013. It is a legacy of the St. Joseph Mission Residential School commemoration event, which was held in William Lake for the first time. And it actually grew out of one survivor's account of how she had lost her orange t-shirt on the first day when she was taken into a residential school. And so it became a symbol now and also a catalyst for discussion on this very important topic of truth and reconciliation. So I hope that you will all be a part of that event tomorrow in your own way. And if it's nothing else than taking some time to reflect and hold space for that very important topic and conversation. So thank you so much for joining us. There may be some others who pop on the call as well. Thank you so much for those of you who are connecting in the chat today. So as I mentioned, today's topic is market research. This was a topic that was decided on by maybe not everyone here in the group, but certainly by the Weekend community through our Facebook page, our private Facebook group, which we have, and we always poll the group to find out what they want to talk about in the next cafe. By the way, as we're getting ready for today, I want to signal that the next two cafes will happen October 28th, and that we're going to be talking about websites. The group wanted to talk about how to tweak and or create a better website. And also on the 25th of November, which is the November cafe, we'll be talking more about social media because that is always a popular topic in our community. So definitely join us if you're not yet on our weekly e-newsletter. That's the best way to get just updated so you don't have to go look at the website. And I'll put my email one more time into the chat. So if you're not on that weekly e-newsletter, you can be. And that not only provides info about our workshops and cafes, but funding opportunities for women. I've got 2 new ones going out on Monday. I'm excited about, there's all sorts of really connections and opportunities. So you don't want to miss that through the weekly e-newsletter. All right, so I've chatted enough today. I would love to throw this topic out to the group, and I can form it in a question, I suppose, in that we're looking for your challenges when it comes to market research and your solutions. So let's first of all talk, well, actually, anybody who would like to kick it off, maybe you have had a challenge and a solution, or you'd like to just start to, talk about it from your point of view. So you can put your hand up, like physically, or you can click your reaction button. I saw Michelle already do that. And so I'm going to let her kick it off today. It's over to you, Michelle.
Okay, my biggest challenge for doing market research that I'm in the middle of right now is connecting. It's getting to that HR person, getting them on the phone, connecting them with them through an introductory email, but just making that connection, it's really challenging.
All right, so you're throwing that out to the group for some feedback on that. Okay, yeah. So great question. I'm sure there are some answers in the group. I've got some strategies I know that I use, but I will throw it out to you folks. Go ahead. Who has a thought today?
I have a thought.
Yes.
Hi, Chantal Fraser. I'm a member of the Human Resources Professional Association. So if you're not already a member of the Human Resources Professional Association, you might want to consider going to some of their events, even if you don't want to join. And I'll put the HRPA site into the chat, including the one for the Thousand Islands area, because I think, Michelle, you're in the Thousand Islands area. So, because we have events, we have networking events, and granted, most of them are virtual right now, but eventually we'll be in person again. And if you start following us on, LinkedIn and Twitter and things like that, you can start engaging in conversations with members of HRPA who are the human resources people that are out there in a bunch of companies who might be looking to hire you.
Yeah.
Great point.
The one point I wanted to clarify, I'm looking for a discovery conversation with people in HR, not to be hired, but I just have a few questions about their needs.
And we could answer by connecting with us. So anyway, I'm going to put some HR areas where you could connect, and we have LinkedIn groups as well. So you could pop your questions, join the LinkedIn group, and then pop your questions into the LinkedIn group where you've sort of got a captive audience, right?
Yeah, groups are so awesome. I was going to suggest Facebook groups as well, but Chantal, if there's specific LinkedIn groups, that's probably even better for the HR profession. Groups are wonderful if you want to do market research, even to Michelle's point, like at the discovery level. And if you're looking for one, we do have a We Can Facebook community. So if you want to be a part of that, all you have to do is email me. I just put my email into the chat. I'll send you the link for that. But we have people all the time that post questions, right? And so it could be, yes, we're a diverse audience in there, but we generally tend to be, we're certainly all women entrepreneurs, and most from the Kingston region. So look to Facebook groups, as Chantal mentioned, LinkedIn groups, great suggestion. Someone else who might have a thought or a question, we can move on and we can circle back, make this a spiral. Okay, go ahead, Paula.
So I have a question about the marketing research on social media. I've tried to make posts and stuff to try to engage with my clientele in the past, but I think I'm doing all wrong. So if it takes people effort, I'm not getting any results, really just likes. So is it a better approach to put in your stories instead of asking people to answer something like just something yes, no? Because I don't know, right? So it's like, yeah, like for example, are you kidding?
Huh? Megan's got an answer for you. I can see her waving her hand. Go ahead, Megan.
Hi, Paula, I just wanted to tell you that there's two things that immediately came to mind. One, I find it really helpful to get people engaged through Instagram stories using questions and opportunities, even if it's just like a yes, no, or you can use that slider thing. And then you see who's engaged. And then I am really anti like popping into someone's DMs uninvited, right? Because it's the grossest thing. Yeah, it's the worst. But what I do like to do is save screenshots of the people who have interacted with certain posts and then interact with their posts so that we start to form a relationship. Because if somebody answers my question, then I know that they're at least interested or that they're inclined to engage. Because a lot of people just go on Instagram and they're like, hoping that other people like their stuff, and everyone's liking everything and there's no relationships. But if you sort of, cultivate that way, and there's, I don't think it was this group, it was another group. There's this like a highlight function in DMs where you can highlight people who have engaged with you. And then, like sort of the list of people that you want to start cultivating a relationship with. Anyway, I find that more helpful than the call to actions in your regular posts. I put them out there and every once in a while people will engage, but often I find it's in stories. It's that quick hit that somebody just wants to engage quickly, and then cultivating relationships outside of that.
I love that point.
When I make as a post, I have nothing, and it's just like open question or like close questions like yes or no, but I haven't thought about the screenshot of people that are engaging, so I'm gonna try that. Thank you.
Michelle, did you have something to add?
No, that's fantastic. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I love that point. And to me, social media isn't necessarily where people go deep with conversations. That's what I find. It's like a visibility tool. It gets you on their radar or it gets them on your radar. I'll be honest, LinkedIn is the place also where, well, LinkedIn or obviously email or Facebook groups or groups tends to be with the place where I go deeper with conversations. So even if it's a lead that it's like, oh, Megan Hamilton liked and commented, that's interesting. I like by the end of this day, I'll probably have followed anyone on this call who I'm not already following on LinkedIn. Like, probably if you know me, I've followed you on LinkedIn. And that's because that's like a professional space where people do have those longer conversations in the DMs, if you will, but it's really in the messaging section, right? So that would be my thought, is take the conversation, like go ahead and follow them professionally and then maybe have it there, or have the deeper conversation maybe in a group. Because I find that it's not just you, Paula, don't feel bad. Don't take it personally. That's just not the place where people go deep. That's what I would think. Rita, you have a comment. Go ahead, hon.
Hi. Yeah, I was wondering about other people's interaction with LinkedIn. I recognize that of the social media choices, it's supposed to be the one related to business. But frankly, I've reached out 5 times other than posts to actually ask someone to contact me with samples or a name of a person in their organization to have further conversation with, and had no response whatsoever from those 5. And other people saying to me, well, everybody knows it's a dating site. Like, what the hell? How do you get any work done if it's a mixed message is coming out of LinkedIn, like join us and pay us extra to be your biz connector? It doesn't work that way. So the real problem or reason I'm attending today is I'd like some feedback from others about websites in the sense of marketing. Everybody's being driven to get a website, and so you end up with the grandma's ice cream store down the street having a website that's on the World Wide Web, just like yours is, which maybe is a more targeted audience to the remote corners of the globe that can't get to a store of a specialty nature like I'm trying to offer. And I wondered if anybody has any comments about what the content of a truly worldwide site, maybe language-wise or culturally, whether there's any place to turn for that kind of information.
Okay, so Rita, are you talking about driving traffic to your website? Is that sort of the question?
Yes, how Google in Afghanistan recognizes that people need wheelchairs, which I might be selling, that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's how do we catch them? Do we catch them through language or through some other cultural knowledge?
Okay, good question. Actually, and I'll really encourage you to come back next month as well, because our entire conversation will be on websites on October, let me look, 28th. But in the meantime, does someone have something to add? I know, Chantal, you had your hand up. It was regarding LinkedIn, I have a feeling. Go ahead. Do you want to just make that, let's not lose that thought before we move on.
Okay, I put in the link, somebody to follow on LinkedIn to learn how to use LinkedIn effectively to reach out to clients. Petra Fisher is, I think she's in the Netherlands. She is a LinkedIn goddess, a maven. She knows everything about LinkedIn. She shares a lot of free advice. And if you want to invest in her coaching services, great. But even just her free advice, she's on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So not only is she a LinkedIn maven, she's a great example to follow of somebody really leveraging all their social media platforms to get the word out and to get information from us, the people who might buy her courses. So she's a fabulous example to follow, and I'll stop there.
Yeah, and just quickly picking up, I don't pay for anything, Rita, on LinkedIn. I never have. And it has been, I don't know if I've ever been approached from a dating perspective, just to give you context. Do you have to be careful who you are allowing to link with you? I am very careful. Every time I link to someone, I look at that person. If there's no photo, they do not get to follow me. If they're you have to cultivate and also curate your own following. That is a very big part of it. I think that a lot of women set themselves up for disaster by just they're not very mindful about that part of it. So I have probably over 3,000 connections, and I don't think I've ever been approached for a date. So maybe that's just because my profile picture is hideous. I'm just kidding. Anyways, I'm kidding. So driving traffic to the website, let's address this before we go on as well. Thoughts on that from anyone, just in terms of getting traction, I guess, is the question there. Go ahead, Chantal.
Hi, folks. I ran a course this summer, and when I was getting ready to run the course, I went massive, and I put stuff out on Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, and I let everybody know. And my website traffic just spiked. It was 4 times as high as it normally was when I was really active. But where I was getting most hits from was LinkedIn, because it was a career transformation course. So I keep hearing people like Carrie say, go where your audience is. If you're on the social media platforms and posting relevant content that appeals to your ideal market, where they are, then they're more likely to actually click through and see your website.
Yeah, relevance is a great point, Chantal. So again, depending what you're selling, if you give the examples of ice cream and wheelchairs, so I'm not sure which it would be, but if, let's say, wheelchairs, if I'm selling wheelchairs, I want to know everything there is to know about my ideal person who's going to buy that wheelchair. And if there is a Facebook group about people who use wheelchairs, and maybe, again, I'm a part of that community, then I want to get in there, not to sell, but to be a part of the conversation, to add value for free. And once I've built relationships at an opportune time to say, oh, by the way, if you'd like to connect with me, I do have this, but it's very difficult to cold sell, whether it's through LinkedIn or these groups, when you have no relationship with the people, right? So you always want to be relationship building. I mean, that's what we're doing today, right? We're here, we're seeing each other, talking, asking questions. So this is a networking, relationship building type of an experience. Always be looking to do that genuinely, offer things for free, offer value for free. And then, at the moment where it makes sense, offer your paid service. So it's not something we do once a week, it's every day. It's like the air we breathe. We're constantly looking to add value to other humans. And then we get known to be that person. People will be beating down your door to buy what you're selling. I promise you that. Because they'll want to give back to you because you've already given to them. That would be my take on it, just from a high level. But does someone else have anything to add before we go to the next question? Go ahead, Sanita.
it's just a general comment. Something that I learned of very recently is that oftentimes on our social media posts, we have the website as the landing page, but let's say that you have multiple services or multiple products that have designated pages on your website. So the one sort of suggestion I received was make that landing page, like link your post to that landing page, not to your general homepage of your website, but let's say if you're talking, a specific product that day in that post, then make sure that that's exactly where that post takes the viewer to. So just
Good
sharing.
point. And I think it was in our last virtual cafe where I think it was Lisa or somebody was talking about how do we convert people from social media? And you really need to set up your e-commerce site to connect directly to Instagram and Facebook. So when they see this picture of ice cream, they click, they buy. Like, well, I'm not going to buy ice cream on the internet, but you know what I'm saying, right? So, it's like, it's as easy a path as possible for that person to buy. And I mean, simple language, absolutely simple, the language that your ideal audience uses, and get to know that audience, know what makes them tick, know what words attract them, know what words repel them, understand everything there is to know about them, and then serve them before you sell to them. All right, great question, Rita.
Thank you.
Someone else who might have a
Great
thought
answers.
about market research? Anybody in the throes of doing that? Yeah, go ahead, Megan.
In a program I took last year, one of the pieces of advice for sort of figuring out your client's language, trying to find in their terms what their problems are, because, when we offer services to people, we know how we're going to fix their problems, but they don't necessarily know that, right? They don't. And somebody said to me once, you're selling warm feet, not socks, right? And so you're thinking about how you're going to organize how you present your offer, because you got to think about what the person is going to be looking for. Like, what are they going to be searching on Google for to help them solve their problem, even if that's different than what you're going to be giving them. And so one of the ways that can be really helpful is to go back to previous clients and say, hey, can I hop on a call with you for 10 minutes? And then ask them questions like, how are you feeling before you worked with me? What was sort of a discovery that you had while working together? How do you feel now? And do it on Zoom so that you can record it, and then use their very specific words, use the language that they use, even if it's different than how you would describe it, because that's how people are going to find you. They're going to be looking for somebody that goes, yes, that woman knows exactly what I'm talking about, as opposed to using our professional jargon where people go, I don't know what that means. Move on to the next person. So that's a great way to do market research as well, is to just hit up your old clients and ask them really specific questions. That's all I have to say. You're muted, Carrie.
You're muted. Carrie, you're on mute.
You can't change it from mute to anything else. Keep going. It's the interpreter in me. English to English works too. Is there anybody else who wants to go?
I have a question, or I guess just a topic for the group. I'm just curious, in terms of market research, it can be a little bit daunting, a little bit overwhelming. Does anybody have any specific platforms or websites or go-to kind of tools that they use to conduct market research that they find valuable? Or is it always something new and different? Does anybody have any suggestions there?
I don't know if I'll just pop in real quick. I like to use Google Docs. And so sometimes I go to, I have an email list and I'll say, hey, can I grab your attention for a couple of minutes, and use Google Docs as a, as a way of collecting data, what people need, what time of year they would like to have it, things that they're looking for. Is that what you mean, Kelly? Just to like ways to collect things from people, or like how to do it?
Yeah, just in terms of, I'm just curious about different like websites like Google Docs or applications or places where people conduct their market research. Because I mean, there can be market research in terms of like talking directly to your customers or going online and using some kind of a platform or a database containing information.
Right. Yeah, that's how I conduct mine.
I'm back. Sorry, folks. Zoom has been wonky for me. If I get kicked out again, just somebody else pick up the conversation. Thanks to those who jumped in. Sorry, Kelly, are you asking about tools that people use for market research? Is that the question?
Yeah, tools, websites, applications, just where do people do most of their market research?
Right. Okay, great. I'll jump in. I've used Google Forms a lot, and it seems like the simplest tool that's out there. Queens also has a very, complex system called Qualtrics, so there are very complex systems that are certainly more privacy protected. And I think that's a question to ask. What level of privacy and confidentiality are you looking for? That would be perhaps require a more intensive survey system that wouldn't be free. But of course, Google Forms, SurveyMonkey. I don't know if anybody else, I've used SurveyMonkey many times. And you can use the free or the paid version. Any other tools that people use? Those are just the online kinds. I've also certainly done focus groups, which you can do in this sort of scenario. It's not confidential by any means. Thanks, Kuyu. It's not confidential, but one-on-one interviews, focus groups even in Zoom work great. And yeah, so those are certainly ones, or one-on-one question and answer interviews via email. And then from a public point of view, I just post questions in the Facebook groups constantly because, yeah. And I don't just show up. I think that's the important thing, back to the relationship building. I don't just show up when I have a question or I want something. It's like, it's give, 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 ask, right? So I think you have to cultivate that rhythm. And so even if you're in a Facebook group, you don't only show up when you want something, whether it's from clients or whether it's just, communally. That would be a thought I have on that too. Any other thoughts? That's a really great question, Kelly. No one uses any other ones? Oh, Chantal, go ahead. I think you're on mute still. Oh, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me now? All right, my Zoom's gone totally wonky, so I can't tell if I'm muted or unmuted. But one of the things that I've used with others who own it, not me, is Airtable, because Airtable has all this huge functionality where you can create surveys in Airtable and you can collect data and you can pull reports and you can do all kinds of really cool things. So I've been using other people's Airtable, but seeing the huge power of the platform. So it's something that I'll probably explore a little further on my own later.
Very interesting. I hadn't heard of that before. I don't know if you're able to put a link in the chat, but if your Zoom is crazy, don't worry about it, because mine, I'm afraid to touch it right now. There's a question Michelle asked in the Zoom chat. Do you think businesses prefer a questionnaire on Google Forms or a phone discussion, which I hadn't mentioned in my examples, but certainly is? What do you guys think about that? Michelle, do you want to add to that?
I have to say my biggest challenge is just connecting with corporations. I have a list of the right person to connect with. I can't seem to get them on the phone. So what I'm thinking is maybe a form, a very short, brief form with just a few answers that they could fill out in their own time. It's just everybody's so busy.
And I think someone mentioned in the Zoom chat, everyone's burnt out, right? And so I think it was Rita who was saying, people aren't answering me in LinkedIn. And someone else responded, people are really burnt out in LinkedIn as well. So I think that's important to realize that it's not us all the time. Sometimes it's us, but it's not always us, right? And that's important to acknowledge. That's a really good point. So I know it's back to that original question Michelle said about how do you find the right, you have the person, but they're not responding. I'll throw it out and then I'll give you my strategy. Anyone else have a thought? No, I'll just jump in for sake of time then as you're thinking. I just try to figure out, is there someone I know who knows that person? Like who is someone who can lead me? And I know you probably know that, Michelle, but again, LinkedIn is great for that because if you're connected to them on LinkedIn, it will show you who your in-between people are, right? So I constantly have people say to me, hey, Carrie, I see you know Sophia. Could you do an introduction, you know, or whatever? So find the in-between person, and often LinkedIn maps that out for you so that you can see, oh, Megan knows Julie. I'm going to go through Megan, and maybe that would be a path. The other thing would be to post in a group again and say, hey, everyone, I'm trying to reach the HR person at Empire Life. Does anybody have a contact? Like literally, that's what your groups and your communities are for. You would be amazed at how many people in those, you know, it could be, you never know where that connection might come. I'll just mute Chantel. I don't know what's going there. Chantel, I just muted you for the short term, but I'm sure that we'll get you back. You just might want to go on mute. Okay, does anyone have something to add to that? Any other ideas? I guess the question is about linking to people you're trying to get a hold of to do that market research very often. All right, any other questions on this same topic?
I find it like for me, because I'm not a service per se, like I sell products, physical products, personal, like I can send 10,000 emails and have nothing back, you know, and then I go to the store with a basket with samples, say like, yeah, just wanted to introduce my business. For sure, some people are going to say no, just be prepared, but some of them would take gladly the samples. And so like, oh, I'll think about it, you know, people are usually nice, you know, they don't mistreat you like that. So I find that sometimes when you're trying to reach people and you're not getting anything, which like in my industry is like pretty common, you have to do personal, you know, you really have to get personal, put a basket together, whatever you have to offer, flyers or whatever you have. In my case of products, and saying like, I just wanted to introduce my stuff to you, you know, and it's always like open a conversation, because when you say like, can I follow up with you in like 10 or 15 days, you can give you time to try everything. They have no choice, but they may reply with a yes or no, but at least it's there, you know. So I find that sometimes when nothing works, I just show up there, knock the door, say, hey, that, you know.
I love the strategy. I heard somewhere when everyone else zigs, zag. You should zag. Like, so if it's like you're trying the same thing because this is what everyone says to do and it's not working, try something totally different. Like, don't even keep beating on that door. Go around the corner, find the second door. There's always a second door. There's always more than one way into the nightclub, okay? Or whatever you want to say. There's always 2 or 3 doors. So if it's not the VIP door, find the entrance for the workers at the back. I don't know, just find some other way into the room. There always is. And hopefully this type of conversation also helps trigger some of those thoughts. I love that, Paula. Good point. Go ahead, Paula.
Yes. And another thing is just like when I'm having real problems to get into stores, you know, because it's small producers, smaller business like us, sometimes we cannot give the margins and, you know, that like a big company can give it to people, which can be a little for them to carry your stuff because they make more money on the other products. Ask your clients to go to that store and say like, hey, why you're not carrying this brand? It's local and I love it. So I find that sometimes when I run out of options, my clients send me DMs like, why you're not here? So like, so if you want me here, go there and ask for me. And usually when you have like 3-4 people asking for a certain product or service in that area, on that place, they will start listening to you. So ask your clients to go to places and say like, hey, why you're not having this? It works more than actually you trying to reach them. Like they will listen to the clients.
I love that. Sean put in the Zoom smart approach. Yeah, and you triggered a thought. The quote, be so good that they can't ignore you, is another way into the club, okay? So in other words, Michelle, if you're looking, like this is a long game, right? For every single business here, this is a long game. So let's say we're knocking right now, the door's not opening. I would start mounting a campaign so that, to Paula's point, everyone starts talking about you. Now that could be you're putting out media releases. That could be that you're doing such an amazing job that people can't ignore you. They're talking about you, sharing testimonials, posting reviews. I promise you that eventually that HR person's wait a minute, I've heard about this Michelle. Where was she? And goes back through the notes and there's Michelle. And there's the moment of connection, right? So even though you don't get the connection right when you want it, keep planting the seed, circle back when you can, and then be so good that they can't ignore you, is my thought there as well. Mount a campaign, like we can all be strategic about getting our name out there, and social media is not, that's just one little door. Social media is one thing, right? Look at media relations, look at getting on people's podcasts, look at getting on the Cogeco TV show, which is in Kingston, or whatever your local TV show is. Get on the radio, get visible so that everyone's talking about you. And suddenly, sometimes doors open in weird places that you never thought, right, as well. Yeah, go ahead, Paula, you have your hand up.
I just remember another thing I do, collaborations. If you're struggling a lot, see who offers similar products than you, but not exactly the same, or like on the same industry, whatever, and do collaborations. Because if the person has connections and you have connection, it's a good way to say like, oh, hey, can you open the door for me to get there, and vice versa. I'm trying to do this with some people in Toronto now this week. I got some jam producers, organic producers, whatever. So, and yeah, I got 6 contacts of 6 big stores in Toronto that said like, hey, bring me samples. Just because I could put an email like, hey, my friend from blah, blah, blah told me that it would be a good fit for a store. Can we chat? Can I bring samples? And I have 5-6 stores for next week to deal with. So collaboration, see who can, you can partner with, or even like in the same industry, but it's a complementary service to what you offer. It works actually better than any social media strategy that I'll ever put out there.
So true. High five to that. Yes. Social media is a visibility tool, right? Let's not put all our eggs in that basket and wonder why. And I'm sure you guys don't, but just a reminder, social media is very unpredictable. So that is really great. And back to what Michelle was saying, but probably what others were thinking and talking about, if the one door is not opening, there might be an entire different market. Like, so maybe it's not the HR people, maybe it's a different audience, to rethink the audience even. And I know that takes getting outside of maybe our original plan, but sometimes we just shake it up and say, I'm not going after the HR people, I'm going to go after this other, group, whatever it might be. I'm not sure in this case, but yeah. Other thoughts from the group? I don't want to over chat here, but yeah, Sunita, go ahead.
Another thing, this is not my experience. I'm very new in the game, but I've seen one example of a business here. Those of you who are from Kingston, Shermare Spa and ABBA. And I think she's had some real clever ways of doing things in this past year and a half, where they had the YGK box, speaking to Paula's point about collaboration, and that YGK box was offering her products. It was offering Olive Oil and Co. It was, it was a combination of things, and that became like a delivery thing. The other thing I've noticed she does is She does get in on small community projects. Yes, you have to be doing reasonably well if you're going to be a philanthropic sort of a business donating, but sometimes maybe your portion of it is very small, but it's like, hey, we're collecting for United Way's XYZ campaign. You can drop off here. And by doing that, it's an opportunity to show that you're human, you're a compassionate, caring person in the community. So you're sort of killing a multiple birds with one stone. And I've really admired or appreciated the way she's been doing things. And I didn't know ABBA until about 1.5 years ago. And I've noticed and I've used their products, and I'm just sharing somebody else's success story here.
Yes. And ABBA is an excellent example of be so good they can't ignore you. ABBA is, and again, it's not just donating product necessarily, it's her time. She leads workshops, right? And on social justice issues. And again, it's not all, oh, so I can sell my products, right? And if ABBA was here, she would say that. It's so that it's because that's who she is. So it's showing up in her community, give, right? Serve, serve, serve. And people know who she is, and she happens to have a business. It's successful. And yes, to Megan's point, she's an incredible leader and entrepreneur. So be all of that. And there's a byproduct of that, which is great. It was wonderful. And I love seeing women stepping into these leadership roles because men have done it for generations. That's why we know who they are and what they're associated with. We can't be invisible. We can't hide behind our brands. We have to step up in our area and shine. So yes, great points, Anita. Thanks for that. Okay, go ahead, Paula. Yes.
I think I would just want to remind everybody that we're surrounded by amazing, top-notch women in our lives, and sometimes we don't give them the credit that they really deserve. So, for example, I needed a bunch of new pictures to spruce it up on my Instagram, whatever, but like it's not a one-person job, you know. And as a small business, sometimes we don't have the budget to put $2,000-3,000 to make your Instagram go wow. Well, I have friends. One is a hairdresser, makeup artist. The one is in a journalism school for some video kind of things, whatever. I threw a barbecue in my house. So like, you guys help me this. And I threw a party with wine and everything that you guys wanted. In the end of the day, we had tons of fun. My pictures look no less than incredible. And I have 2,000 pictures to choose from and videos that I can use around in my business, all out of friendship. You know, don't be shy to call your friends. I like, hey, I can take my own pictures on the self thing all the time. I need someone to take for me, you know. And just like it was mind blowing because my expectations is like, I don't know how serious they're gonna take this. They really took on the task because they're like being thousands of dollars to do it, coaching me, actually bossing me around. And it was like, oh God, you know, it for me was incredible. So don't underestimate the power of people around you. It's just, I couldn't ask for more. And on that point, someone, before I forget, put on the chat here, if there is a place, Carrie, is there a place where market research questions can be found? Don't post it. And it's something I want to know as well. But guys, call your friends, give them a barbecue and a jar of wine. If the pictures don't come up super great, you guys at least gonna have a beautiful day together and gonna have lots of fun.
Well, and thanks, Paula. You're absolutely right. And you barter your services as well, right? I noticed recently in the weekend group, I think it was, someone posted they were looking for a photographer, right? And suddenly there was all these suggestions as well. So if you're like, I don't even know where to start, again, go back to your groups. Okay, let's address that. Thank you, Paula. I missed that question in the chat, which is, where can you find market research questions online? Okay, so does somebody have a response to that you want to start with? If not, I will jump in. Okay, I'll start. Everyone knows I will start, but I don't want to be the only voice. Okay, my initial thought is, no one out there is asking the questions that you should be asking about your business, because your business is not like anybody else's business. So I would say, you know, you want to think about what are the questions that are specific to your business. So if you're asking what types of questions should I ask, let's chime in, everyone, and let's help with that. I'm not sure who asked it, sorry. So I would start asking questions like, have you ever, so when you start a business or you have a product or a service, it's usually about a pain point, right? So have you ever experienced, so, okay, what are your needs, Michelle says, but again, that's also a very big question. If you can narrow it down, like if you know that what you want to do, to Megan, let's give an example from Megan's business. She teaches women how to do public speaking, build confidence. Hopefully I got it right there in a nutshell, Megan. So she might post somewhere and say, do you struggle with the fear of public speaking? Do you, have you ever gotten up on a stage, like just to ask, and then she might ask about pain points. What is it about, or how do you feel when you're going to go public speaking? They might say, well, my hands get, you know, clammy, my breathing is off. And suddenly she's like, okay, that's helpful. Maybe I should address breathing, right? And in fact, she has a whole technique on breathing. But I can guarantee that probably came out of talking to people who said, every time I get up on stage, I'm short of breath. But, you know, by asking the question, what are the struggles you have with X, Y, Z, right? Because you already know, Michelle teaches, you know, nutrition, right? And so she might say, you're a busy woman, you know, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to preparing healthy meals? That's where I would start. Ask what the struggle is that people have. You might be way off on what you think their struggle is, right? So you want to make sure that you're kind of on target and on track with even the product and service you're developing. You want to make sure it resonates with that audience. So that's where I would start. First of all, make the question specific to you and your business. Start by asking about their struggles and their pain points, because that's what a business is. It solves a pain point, right? Otherwise, it's just a nice to have, not a need to have, right? So what are some other questions that either you folks have used or you would suggest using? Let's throw some of those out there. I'm looking to you guys right now. Go ahead, Sunita.
So oftentimes we find a solution, but it's not sustainable. So perhaps asking that, have you found a solution for your needs that is sustainable? Coming back to Michelle, like people go on yo-yo diets, people do, you know, all kinds of one-off things that they try, but then that's not sustainable. So perhaps putting that in there, like, is there something that you've been able to stick with? If not, here's what I have for you, perhaps.
Love that.
Yeah.
So what have you struggled? What's your struggle? And then what have you tried before that hasn't worked? I love that as a follow-up question. That's really great, to the point of the yo-yo diets and whatever. Really great point. Someone else about a question that might be a helpful one to ask. Oh, guys, I can't read the chat anymore. So, Zoom. If I disappear, someone just pick it up, because it's starting. Oh yeah, I can't even go off mute now. So someone else who would like to chime in, I might zip out of this call and come back. Chantel, I'll see you soon.
So one of the things that I want to sell is a career evolution course, as Carrie is trying to change, get me away from transformation to evolution. And I thought one question I might be able to ask is, do you feel underappreciated in your current career? Because that's something that the students who took the beta version felt. So I'm seeing nodding heads, so that might be a good question then. Okay, cool. Anybody else have questions while Carrie's logging back in?
I'm back. One of those days. I totally missed what you said, Chantel, but I'm sure it was awesome. So high five.
I gave a question, I got nodding heads, so I figured that was a good question. And the question was, do you feel underappreciated in your current career?
Oh yes, for your particular, yes. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, you want to avoid yes, no questions. Great point. If you want to go deep, the yes, no is great for the surface on social media, but you want to go deeper. Other questions might be, yeah, what have you tried before that hasn't worked? What have you tried before that has worked, right? A budget question. what would you be willing to pay for a solution that solves this pain point? And then I would give them like, I mean, everyone would love to pay nothing. So give them some like $0 to $500, 501 to $799, 800 to $999. You give them some choices so that then you get an idea of where your pricing might fit in as well. Those are terrible categories for budget, so please don't use those. Yeah, what's your wellness budget? If it's a corporation, great, love it. Yeah, so budget questions I would ask. What else, Megan?
I like, before I ask the question about a budget, I like to say, how would you feel if you no longer had to worry about this fear?
Yes.
Right? Make them think about like, and then to really understand, because most people are going to say, yeah, probably maybe $100 or something like that. Right. But if you try to like cultivate it, and it's such a tricky thing because people know right away when you're, like manipulating the conversation. I like to be really straightforward. Like, I want to ask you some questions so that I can understand, so that it doesn't feel like we're having a conversation and all of a sudden I feel like somebody's trying to manipulate me or sell to me or whatever. But what I really like to do is, bring up how you would feel. So like Michelle, for you, like, how would you feel if you didn't have to worry about your weight anymore? How would you feel if it was completely out of your mind all the time? Like most women would say, like, what a freedom that would be, right? And then you think about, well, what is that worth to you? As opposed to saying, how much would you pay for a weight loss program? And that's one of the ways I like to try to help figure out, the value of something to somebody, because it's more than just time and labor, right? It's the freedom you have afterwards. And another quick point I wanted to make is I am constantly taking notes and asking questions and writing down very specific language that people use when I'm talking to them about what I do, whether it's in a client meeting or whether it's, on Instagram and seeing what somebody says. And I think to myself, oh, that's really good. I never would have thought of phrasing it that way. And so I keep this ongoing list of what people have said so that I can use that to help develop stuff that people need. But I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah. I love the point that you just made. It's actually so strategic and it can change everything in your market research. So if you picked up, ask the question, get them to imagine, first of all, what life would be if they didn't have that pain point anymore. So how would you feel? Also, I heard a question recently, what would you do, right? What would you do with the extra time if you wouldn't have to do X, Y, Z? So maybe it's even like a house cleaning service. Hey, Carrie, what would you do if you didn't have to spend 10 hours a week cleaning your house? I don't, by the way, but whatever it might be, right? And suddenly you start imagining the possibilities, and then it's not sly, it's not slippery. It's like, and then you lead them to the next logical question, which is, well, what would that be worth to you? That's an honest question. As women, sometimes we don't like to talk about money, and we got to get over that. We want to make sure we are pricing appropriately in our market. And to do that, let's have these conversations. The more we do it, the more normal it feels to us. And again, it's about solving their problem. It's not about us getting rich quick. It's about solving their problem. And so if that's the focus, then I think that is worthwhile pursuing. Sean, I think it was Sean also said a question about frequency, if I'm not mistaken, in the Zoom, which is another great question. Like, also I could extrapolate there. How much time do you have in a week to dedicate to, would you want to dedicate to solving this problem, for instance? So if you're doing a course and they're like, I have 30 minutes a week. Well, then if Michelle creates a 4-hour-a-week course, that is not going to sit well with that audience. They don't have 4 hours a week, but they do have 30 minutes. And so asking how much time do you have, even as a starting point, maybe they'll dedicate more time later once they really get hooked. But to start, I think the time question is really a great question. I think Sean highlighted that. Michelle's saying, what if corporation has systems in place that are giving them unsuccessful results? Do you want to expand on that, Michelle? Is that like a way that you would phrase the question, or?
No, I'm just wondering, because if you're trying to sell corporate wellness and they say, oh, we already have an EAP program, we've got Sun Life and we've got a wellness team and they're looking after it. But it's not giving corporations the results that they need. There's still, diabetes is rampant, people are still off sick and everybody's getting less healthy.
Yeah. So are your current wellness programs working for you? Like, I don't know if that's a question, but that's more of a yes, no, but something to get them thinking about how effective are their current programs. You know, has your absenteeism gone down in the last year or has it gone up, right? What are some of their key indicators? Have you struggled with recruiting new talent? P.S. everyone has, right? So, you know, what if you were an employer of choice by having this, you know, particular program in place? I don't know. Also, on that note, really defining what you mean by corporate wellness, I think can help you stand out. Maybe there's a pain point they are not addressing, right? And I'm working with a client confidentially right now, so I can't disclose, but within We Can, where she is creating a program for corporate wellness on a very specific pain point. I think the more specific we can get, the more they can imagine how you will solve their problem, not just corporate wellness, but this particular thing. Yeah, true, Megan, in the chat. Sorry, Sunita has her hand up patiently.
Sorry, yeah, so I think this is a little bit like the EAP and those programs, Michelle, they're a little bit performative. They are required by law to have some packages in place. It's a little like when I'm trying to talk to somebody about equity, diversity, and inclusion, you know, you talk to the head honcho, they think they've got it all down. How do we connect with the people that are actually affected by these programs, and do they feel that there is a need? Up there, they've got it all perfectly well. They've got it all taken care of. But I mean, either way, I think your audience always is going to be people that are going to like relate to the money question. You know, yes, I have spent so much money and now I need a program that's really going to work. Or there's going to be people that are going to respond to the impact. So another meeting that I was in, someone said it's not always about ROI being return on investment, but your ROI could be return on impact. And that's something that I'm planning on using and seeing how that goes, if that works out. So
a great phrase. I love that. And just a final note, back to even the first question that Michelle asked about how do you get into these organizations? Maybe it's even offering to do a workshop, a 1-hour workshop, rather than deliver an entire program. They might need to be like, I was at Costco yesterday. Maybe they need a sample. They need a taste test before they hire you for the thousands of dollars. Maybe it's a $500 workshop or whatever that they can test you out and you suddenly connect well and people are having aha moments. That's what's going to sell you. And I think that maybe that type of offering, maybe you've already done it, Michelle, or others, I'm not sure. But you know, I don't like to give away for free at a certain point, especially corporations. They do have money to hire, but you know, you could say I have an offering at $497 or I have an offering at whatever it is that, don't quote me on these prices, whatever it is for your market, right? But the idea would be it's lower than the entire program. Get in, crack open the door, show them what you can do for a lower price point. And then I would say ladder up to some of the larger things. And certainly, you know, we're working with different clients on doing exactly that right now. So great. So thank you, everyone. I see we're already at time. The time has flown by so quickly. I hope that you just, you know, there's some neurons firing in your brain right now about, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Let me write that down. If you missed some of this, you can go back on our YouTube channel later today. It will be uploaded there by next week with professional closed captioning as well. So thank you all for participating, for asking your questions. Always a pleasure, everyone. And sorry for the Zoom blips on my end. Technology. All right, have a beautiful day. So great to see you all.